All right, I think we're live now. A little bit of technical difficulty. We're going to kick off our seminar on specialized knowledge and giving you guys a little bit of value on our live stream. And we do this on purpose. We want to give you guys the ability to get the opportunity to really to see what we're doing and how we're doing it, and the benefits of being in these classes in our seminars, and what is that you really take out of it. Y'all should know who we are by now. Just a little quick intro. I'm Mastermind, Abraham Carranza. We have Taha Habib.
Yeah.
And we're doing these classes every month, right on schedule, and we're doing the Law of Success. We're doing a Law of Success every month. And we're going to be focusing, really drilling down on specialized knowledge and drilling down on every event. We're going to drill into the principle that we're going over. Seminars prior, we were doing quite a bit of the intro on the mind. We're going to touch it lightly, but we're going to really focus down and drill down on the principle that we're going over. So just a little info on us, on me. We started this company on the basis of all men are created equal, and we all have the ability and the desire to grow and be more. And we saw that through developing ourselves and learning this information, it really took us beyond where we've ever been. And we know that this study of the mind and how the mind works, not only has it developed us, it's also developed many people. We went to the Procter & Gallagher Institute to become coaches because me personally, I like the way Bob coached. I was researching the same information that he was. I knew the books that he was working with and the knowledge that he was working with. I knew he had a good solid basis of the mind. He's been doing it for many years, been studying the same information, but he already had years of learning how to communicate effectively and teach people and the success behind it. So immediately I flew down there. I'd seen what he had. I liked it, and I became a consultant. So I worked several years with the Procter & Gallagher team and developing this information so that we can bring it to our companies. And now we brought it to the public. And I'll let Taha give a little insight on him.
My story is a little bit different than Abraham's, and actually I was not looking for or studying any of this information, but I was working really hard and want to really bring my dream into fruition. And I had an idea that the United States or America is land of opportunity, and I was working really hard. And I started my company, and I met Abraham because I knew that in order for me to become very wealthy, I need to have multiple sources of income. So I met Abraham, and at that time I wasn't getting the result that I want. And he told me that the problem is you, and you need to change your mindset and change your programming, or change the way you view life, or basically how you see yourself. And at that time, well, just like everyone else, those words were very strange, and I didn't believe that it's up to me, and there's a relationship between me and my reality, that I need to work on the way I'm thinking and the way of the ideas that I have. So long story short, everyone went off and studied with Bob Proctor, and I see the results, his change in many aspects of his life. And since we were business partners, we are still business partner. And at the time, I want to learn and make sure, I'm advancing myself and I'm not falling behind. When I started working with Bob Proctor, it was immediately I recognized this is very different, and not everybody is not something normal. And through time, when I start changing myself and changing my ideas and growing and developing myself, I start realizing that everyone is capable of doing that. And Abraham had started I Am Mastermind, and he he offered to become a partner in the company and become a coach. And he believed that I can do it, and he believed in me and encouraged me to step in this journey. So I took it, and I believe that not only it's good to make money, just personally, it's good to make money, have a life that you want. But end of the day, I think our job is here to learn and service and help others. And helping others, I'm not talking about just handing out money or anything like that. I'm talking about changing the way they're thinking and helping them to believe that life it can be better, and you have infinite potential. So Abraham and I decided to move. This was Abraham's vision. I joined him, and we decided to move I Am Mastermind internationally. We're teaching in 3 languages in different part of the world. We want to be everywhere in the world, and mission of I Am Mastermind is, as you guys can see, master the mind, master reality. Even for me, that part was misunderstood when I started with the company. But as you get into it, you truly understand to master your mind, master the mind, master your reality is vision is to help the consciousness and raise the consciousness with every individual. And we're doing that, and we're here with one of our seminars today at every last week of Thursday. But since Abraham's going next week to Peru, and he has a seminar there, we decided to push it forward, push it a little bit, reschedule them, put it ahead of time, and that's why we're here.
You want to get started on Inch on the Mind?
Sure. So as most of you guys are aware, let me see, who do we have on here on our call? Okay. As you guys, we don't have an online audience, but most of the individuals here have been with us and have a steady mind. And I'm going to go through it, but it's very important to trying to
make sure the switch is on.
Okay. Before I forget, I want to thank Autumn. She has put. I tell.
Hear you.
Is that yours? I always tell Abraham, these booklet that you see and these slides, Autumn working on the background, and I want to thank her. She has been putting these together, and she does a very good job. Thank you. We want to start with, as most of you are aware, the difference between mind and brain. Mind is energy, and the brain is what's in your head, right? And there's a relationship between energy and the mind and your brain, and there's a communication between that. That's basically, the brain is the motor that moves your body, and the brain is what allows you to function. But that relationship between mind and brain is basically mind energy that we have, the data that we have, the ideas that we have are commanding our mind, or our brain. And the reason we're doing what we're doing, the way we're moving, the way we're operating in our physical world, and the world that we're using, everything that we're doing, it's the function is between the mind and brain. And brain is commanding us to move and do certain things that we do. So there's a huge difference between those two. Your mind is infinite, and it can be developed at anybody that you want to become. And through developing that, you're going to start developing your brain and developing cells of recognitions. And according to the way you're developing your mind and how you're developing your mind, you're basically developing the neurons and in your brain, and basically you're just getting better at operating in a physical world. Do you have anything that you want to add to that?
Yeah, there's just the mind's the spiritual side of the personality, or the higher side of your personality. It's unseen, and that's why we need an image, and you'll begin to that image here shortly. But the mind, when we say the mind, we're going to go over the mind over and over and over again. The mind is an energy, and it's something that we're moving. And the better we become more conscious about that movement and the thought that it's interlaced with what we're thinking about, the better we can improve how we operate the brain.
Mm-hmm. As you guys can see in this picture, here's the mind, and this upper image is your conscious mind and subconscious mind, and this is your body. This image was given by Dr. Tormund Fleet, and he started realizing that we work with the images, and we have to, most of the people, when you ask them about the mind, they don't know what mind is, and they don't have any idea. And if you don't have a clear image of what that is, we cannot understand it very well, and our mind is in state of confusion. So he came up with this image to start being able to explain the mind. The mind is where thoughts are created and where the imagination is put into formation. Basically, when we're talking about the thoughts are created, basically everything that we want is already activated. It's energy, and we can't see it. It's in ether, and we are, as far as we know, on the planet, our only form of life that we can activate those thoughts. We can make them static. All the thoughts and things that we want right now are dynamic. They're just, energy just is. And through the way we're thinking, through our way of thinking, we're making those thoughts dynamic. And with our action and the things that we do, we bring that energy from one form to another form, which we're going to explain a little further. We're going to go discuss a little bit more into the mind and the understanding the minds, because when you might say, why this is important, and why do I need to know the conscious mind and subconscious mind and body? Because the conscious mind and subconscious mind, they have two different functions. This is when you are about to evaluate yourself, and you're always asking why I do what I do, and why I'm not getting what I want. And there are certain conflicts that you have that when you start learning, you understand those conflicts are explainable through understanding your mind, because the conscious mind has a different function than your subconscious mind. And when you understand these functions and how they function and why learning them is important, you're going to apply it much easier and have a better understanding of why you do what you do and why you're creating the result that you're creating, because there's a relationship between your mind and your reality. As more you can understand your mind, your conscious mind and subconscious mind's function, as the better you have a better understanding of how to create the environment that you want, how to create the circumstance that you want, how to create the life that you want. It's all related to understanding the mind. Do you want to add anything to this, Abraham?
Yeah. We're talking about the mind, we're talking about the body, and we're talking about experiences, and we're talking about the mind as a thought. Very first thing is understand that we're spiritual beings experiencing a physical reality, not the other way around. We're not physical beings experiencing spirituality. We are already spiritual. So we're spiritual beings experiencing a physical reality. We think, and then we do things. We think, and then we move the body into action. So understanding that we operate in three planes: the spiritual, the intellectual, and then the physical. So the spiritual side of it is the higher side of your personality, is using the ideas that you have, and it uses ideas from memory, or it can use ideas from what you see right now. So this intelligence that works to and through the brain picks up the information through the senses, and it transmutes it through the brain, and then we move the instrument. So it's important to get things in the right order. We're spiritual beings experiencing a physical reality. Spiritual beings that use ideas, and the ideas are moved into action. So that's where Todd's fixing to go into the illustrations, conscious, subconscious mind.
Sure. Is this too cold here? Oh, you're good. Okay, I dropped the temperature, so I thought you might be cold. We're going through explaining a little bit of the mind and understanding the function of your conscious mind and subconscious mind. And this function, understanding this function is something that you need to always, when you start understanding that, you're going to always have to relate to it. Relate everything to that. Okay, well, I'm going to explain that in a little bit. What does that mean related to back to yourself? As Abraham mentioned, we're spirit living in the body, and our body is instrument of the mind. So when we're talking about the conscious mind and subconscious mind, I'm going to talk about our subconscious mind first, why we are the way we are. So basically, when you are born till the age of 7, you have only subconscious mind. You're not conscious. Your subconscious mind, basically, you step into the world, you open your eyes, you see your parents, you get an introduction to your mom and dad, you see that there's certain language they're talking, you see that they have certain ceremonies, certain events, certain culture, certain belief, right? You start seeing those and you start accumulating that data without being able to rejecting it. So basically, when you have a baby sitting next to you, and if two individuals are talking and that baby is just looking, I'm sure you guys seen it, that individual, that baby is basically picking up your language, picking up the way you're speaking, picking up your body movement, picking up everything about that individual sees and hears. And through age of 0 to born to 7, that individual basically take all this idea that they're seeing and they're hearing about money, about job, and about anything that they have idea of. So basically, these ideas are accumulated by age of 7 and 8, whatever that is, that individual is experiencing, and it creates your core subconscious mind. If we do not factor the genetic programming, we're just talking about environmental programming that we're going to discuss. So after age of 7 and 8, you have, as you guys can see, you're going to develop the conscious mind. And by developing your conscious mind, you start realizing, you start thinking, and you start seeing things, and you start recognizing them. But the problem is, when you start seeing things and recognizing them, you're not seeing them. You are seeing them, but you're seeing the definition of what is being given to you. So basically, your conscious mind directly goes through your subconscious mind data. According to your data, you start understanding your environment. This massive programming that I just talk and speak is the information and data that you have, the perception that you have developed. For instance, why this is important? Because this data that you have developed, it's determining what's possible for you and what's not. What's logical and what's not logical. What can happen and what cannot happen. What is reasonable and what's not reasonable. Basically, it's going to be the instruction, is manual instruction to your life. This data that we just discussed, and I just explained how we basically seeing the result that we're seeing and how we're experiencing life through our subconscious mind. So the way this works, and for individuals that maybe this is first time that they're here, this might be very strange, but through studying and understanding better, you would start believing more, and you start experiencing it more of what I'm about to explain to you. The way we operate is basically, as Abraham mentioned, our body is instrument of our mind. And what does that mean? That means our mind is ruling our body. And the way we move and the way we behave, also the decision we make, the behavior that we have, the way we communicate, everything about us, with our action, it will create a circumstance. It will create sequence of events. It will create basically what we call the results. So when you truly understand this concept, you will understand there's no such an accident for anyone here. Everywhere you are and everything that you're doing is by design of the way you're thinking, the way you are, the way you're programmed. So why am I telling you this? The cool part about it is you can change your subconscious mind programming. You can change your perception. You can change your belief. You can change your limited belief. And by understanding the mind, you can work on yourself or developing your mind, and it's going to basically change the way you're thinking, change the way you're moving, and change the way you're acting, and ultimately it's going to create a different result. So what I'm telling you is, the reason it's very, very important to understand this is you can start changing your result, the reality that you are perceiving right now. It can be changed through understanding the mind. When I say understanding mind, I'm not just talking about you tell me right now, hey, Taha, I understand the conscious mind and subconscious mind, and I stand this stick person, and I'm good. That's not the understanding is. Understanding is, as much as you start studying this, the human behavior yourself, and start understanding what we are and who we are and how we function, you'll be able to put your hands around the experiences and the result that you're getting. So this comes through developing yourself. Why am I telling you? Go ahead.
Let's emphasize on that. Mm-hmm. Let's go through just a demonstration of that. When he's saying that you develop understanding, you only get understanding by the doing. So even though you're going to say, oh, I understood that the conscious mind is my intellect, I understood the subconscious mind is my memories, and it's a storehouse of information, you will not understand what we're teaching you until you demonstrate it in actions. Now, when we say that, how many times have you said, I am going to go on a diet, and it lasts that long? You're not understanding what that word diet means until you have to actually not eat what you wanted to eat. Then you're going to understand the power of the subconscious mind. The only time that you face the power of the subconscious mind is when you're facing the thing that you don't want to do. Then you start to get an understanding of how the subconscious mind overpowers the body. Overpowers a lot of time your conscious intellect, your desires, your wants. So you're not going to understand this. Your first lesson is whenever you go against what you're programmed to do. This is why we're telling everybody, this is not something you get overnight. This is something you have to learn through the process of doing the thing that you don't know how to do, doing the things that you don't want to do. You develop the understanding when you start applying the information that we're teaching you. I've had people that have studied this for years, and they never really did learn first day because they never put a goal, and they never could even execute themselves taking the first step to that goal. That's when you actually put this information to practice and you start to understand what you were learning. Mm-hmm. And this is so important. So let's give it an illustration. Maybe you've got another illustration that you work with people.
Yeah.
And they didn't actually get the learning until they first set a goal.
Yeah.
What does that look like when it hits that subconscious mind?
Yeah. So basically, everyone, the first step is you want to change. You want to have a goal that, the goal, depending on the goal type, but you have a goal. You want something different than what you have right now. Something that you think when you start thinking. So if we put this to a test, if I ask every individual here, I said, what do you want? And you don't have to tell me the answer. I know what the answer is.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Put everybody to the test.
I read minds. I told you guys, right?
Want. What do you want? Let's start. What do you want? Grab the mic.
Yeah.
What do you want? Wants come from the soul. Needs come from the animal instinct. So when we're talking about a want, we're talking about something that you truly desire. We're not asking you what you need. Everybody's going to write down normally what the necessities are. We didn't ask you what you need. We're asking, what do you want? What you want taps into the subconscious mind, which is universal intelligence or the program. So every time you're thinking, well, what do I want? You're going into that subconscious mind. Here's the body. Y'all hear me? Here's the antenna. You can hear. Comes in. It's up the resonator, but the vibration hits it up and you're saying, what do I want? Normally you're going to check, what do I need or what can I do? You're checking your ID, your personality, your memories, what I do. That's what you're going to check. I didn't ask you what you think, what your needs are. We're not asking you what you think is possible. We're asking you, what do you really want? And this, the subconscious mind, this is the lower half is subconscious. In the subconscious mind are two parts. The program, the box, massive information that you were programmed with, 0 to 5, 0 to 7, and then universal intelligence. So really this baby is wide open. And this is when you tap into, when you go to what do I want, and you go to, instead of what do I think I can do or what I think I can have, and we're asking you, no, what do you want? Wants are from the soul.
Yeah.
So what do you want?
So if you really pay attention here, what he says, what do you want? Most of the people settle. Most of the people settle for what they think is possible. But the next question for you should be, what is that is thinking for me and dictating what's possible for me? That is, again, those ideas that are planted in your subconscious mind, and they basically, he touched it. That's the personality that you have. That personality that you have, it reasons with you what's possible for you. And if you don't understand this part that we're talking about, you won't be able to step out of your what you know, and you really go after what you want. Because when we start thinking of, a lot of times when we start thinking about something, even though if we start imagining wanting something out of our, like something really huge that we don't think we can get, a lot of times on the path, what happens is we settle for less because we think, because you don't get what you want, you get what you are, and you start seeing certain things that you think is possible, and you start bringing down your expectation. You start bringing down less of what you want, because at this point you're going to think, okay, this is what I think I want, but it's not you even thinking, it's your program. So part of understanding the mind is going to help you to reason, why do I want what I want? Is what I want is what I think I can get, or what I truly want? The difference between these two are huge. And you would understand that through studying more.
Let's give an illustration. Let's go, and now whoever's on Zoom, whoever's on Facebook, think about, what do you want, and why are you reasoning with it? Why would you reason and throw the want away? Why do you say, nah? Who are you reasoning with? When you start to think and really think, well, what do I want? Well, what do I think I can have? Who's telling you to reason with what you really want and then what you think you can do? Who is causing you to reason right now with yourself? I'm asking you, what do you want? And then you start to think, which means imagine. You're going beyond. You start to imagine. Who's causing you to reason with the want and what you think you can do? With the want, what's causing you to reason? This dictates how you reason. The subconscious mind is dictating how you're reasoning right now. What's stopping you from going to the want and then reasoning what you think is possible? It controls your imagination. Who's talking to you right now? Let's ask.
Yeah.
If you could have anything, what would it be? Emily?
Yes, so for one of my bigger goals, I will be doing 33 million a month by the time I'm 33.
Okay. How are you going to do that?
That's an excellent question. I have a handful of MSIs that I want to do.
Want?
I'm sorry?
That's a want?
Yes.
Okay.
So, I mean, in order for me to achieve that, I have to, whatever I'm doing has to be in harmony with that. So I have to provide value in order for me to get that.
So you've been playing with this idea for a while.
Yes.
Okay. So how much are you really working and doing daily to build that MSI? How much percentage of the day do you work towards that MSI?
Not as much as I should be.
How much? Be honest with yourself.
Probably about 40 to 60%.
Okay. So 40, if that was true, we have how many hours a day? 24. Out of that, tell me the actions that you're truly actually doing. Remember, it's not about what you say, it's about the do. And this is how we figure out how much control our subconscious has over our imagination. So let's go to the doing part. Mm-hmm. How many hours is working towards the MSI?
Anywhere between 4 and 8 hours a day.
Okay.
And that's on my free time. So, I mean, obviously, I'm doing stuff for the company, but I also have things that I am working on whenever I do have that free time. Whenever I am traveling, I do utilize that time and I do research and study businesses and study different MSIs that I could be working on right now, and also working on the money I'm already spending. How can I utilize that as far as to make money for me? So then I'll be making money while I sleep.
Mm-hmm. So I want you to go back and look at what that really is. And you don't need to tell us, but that tells you where you're really going. And if there's no actual action on that on purpose daily, then you know you're completely off track.
Correct.
Anyone else? This is where you become real with yourself. I saw the smirk. She's becoming real with herself in the back. Right? So now you're understanding what's controlling your behavior.
Yeah. And that's very interesting, because it's not only controlling behavior, it's controlling your movement too. So your movement is determination of what you do. Determination of what you do And what you do is creating results. So basically, when you talk about that, that means you can, if you want to read someone's mind, I said it and you guys all laughed, but I was serious. When you start looking at someone's movement, what they do all day, you can tell who they are and how they're programmed.
What they're thinking about.
Yeah. Because they are expressing the ideas that they have. Understanding this, becoming aware of why you do what you do, and you really start becoming aware of what you reason with, there's two big obstacles that I want you to become aware of. The reason I keep saying beware, because first thing, before anything, you have to acknowledge it. You have to be able to recognize it. Two things are very important. One is, if you look at this image, one is understanding that you have, the way you're thinking, this file cabinet that we have here, that already has file, a folder of recognition of who you are and what you could do and what the life looks like, who you can attract, or whatever ideas that you have, right? You have that against you. And the other problem that you have against you is much bigger, is outside world, your reality. The way we're designed, we have to make sure we get through the social judgments, cultural judgments, and through validation. A lot of things that we do, it's because of our the genetic programming. If we go back and look at human evolution, we started becoming social and becoming social being because we start realizing that if we work together, we'll survive longer. So what happened is that if we come fast forward to now, the culture that we have anywhere, the environment that we have, we want to fit. We want to get validation. We want to make sure we do that. Majority of people that we hang out with, or the society that we have, or family, they accept it. Because of that, the way we are, it's very rare for someone to change their life and make it to shift it to a different direction, because they're dealing with these two obstacles. So the first thing that you got to really understand and be aware of is, who is thinking? He mentioned it and he touched it. I'm not sure who picked it up here and really thought about it, but who is thinking? And that comes with what I'm telling you is what I went through, and it took me a while to go through that, but I'm giving it to you so you can go through it right now. And instead of waiting, I don't know, have a epiphany in a year or 2 or 3 or 5 or
a conscious relationship about it till you actually demonstrate it.
Yeah. So when you start asking yourself who's thinking, and you start becoming aware and conscious of who's thinking and why am I doing what I'm doing, and keep repeating and adding, what is it that I want, you start making adjustments. Why want is important? Because want is something that is going to stir something inside of you, your desire, to become someone different, to be able to obtain that in your life. I said it earlier. I said, you don't get what you want, you get what you are. So until you is not changing, which is your subconscious mind, the result will not change. So if I don't want to really get deep into it, want to move forward, but what you see right now is not what you see, is what you are. If you want to change it, you got to change you. A lot of people say you got to change your way of thinking, you got to change your mindset. You got to change you, which is your mindset, to be able to shift and start doing things that you weren't doing before. Because what you were doing before is a demonstration of the result that you're getting right now. So in order to change that, we got to work on those questions. Who's thinking? And to start asking yourself, what I want. And what I want Is this way of thinking is going to help me or not? You have the answer.
Yeah, those wants are from the soul. It drives you to do things on purpose. When you really look for something you really want, you're not going to be just moved by money. If you're just moved by money, you're going to look for the next thing, for the next thing, for the next thing, for the next thing. And a lot of times, the minute that thing gets hard and you don't know how to go through it, well, purpose is a driving force that causes you to go do the thing you don't want to do. And if it's just about money, the minute you get to the program and you don't know how to do it, just let it go. I'll go to the next thing. I'll go to the next thing. But when you focus on a want is from the soul, and you keep looking, what do I really want? What do I really want? Where do I really want? Now you're going to have the desire to propel through the times that are tough and hard, because they will come, because you don't know how to do what you want. But when they come, that why is bigger than the results. That why is bigger than the conditions. And that why, that purpose, will propel you to go through whatever it is that you need to go through to acquire the goal. Wants are good for the soul. They help purify the soul. You're releasing all those beliefs.
Yeah, it's really funny. I want to tell you guys something really funny. When he's talking about exactly, I remember when I went to Bob Proctor's seminar, when he keep asking, what do you want? I was wondering why that is important. What I want, why is important for him, and why he's asking this question, keep asking this question over and over, because I was like, so I want this, or what about it? What is, because you don't know that you are somebody. Like he said it, you are a spirit. You are creating your destiny. Everyone is, but we don't know that. When he says what you want and what you want and what you want, at some point I start realizing, when I start learning, I start realizing everything happens that causes me, basically. And the reason he's asking, because of something inside of me that I want and I'm emotionally involved with it, I'm going to overcome my limited belief. I'm going to overcome and I'm going to let go of the things that is not going to help me to get what I want. And basically, goals are to grow. When I heard that, it didn't make sense again, because to me, goals are to achieving them and, obtaining them. But basically, if you understand this concept of when you're growing, you're becoming a better person, bigger and better person, because your mindset has changed, it's going to change your reality automatically. What I mean reality, I'm talking about all aspects of your life. Relationship, the amount of money you make, the quality of life that you have, how well you do in life, and what comes in your life. It all determines all that. So when you truly understand that the goal is to grow, that means there's no end. That means you have to constantly grow to be able to constantly create a better life. And it's not about achieving that goal, because ultimately I've done this and I've been through that. Ultimately, let's say we have a lot of monetary goal, which we do have to have it, but we have to have a good understanding why we have to have it. Monetary goal, like he mentioned, is not to just say, it's not just the status of, okay, well, I obtained $1 billion money in bank account and I achieved my goal. There's no inspiration in that. We've done it. The part that is going to fulfill you is not the money, is what you do and how much you grow. Because what you do, if you do things with purpose and you set that big goal and you set that vision, that's the journey that you're going through from where you were to where you're getting. That journey is going to be something that you're fulfilling and you're enjoying. Because when you again start understanding more, you become what you think about, meaning that you keep taking a step every day of what you want and not giving up, ultimately because you are a goal-seeking organism and you work through the law of perpetual transmutation of energy. If you remember, I said those thoughts are energy. They are going to come in your life when you're ready.
Another thing, and we'll move to the next slide. Whenever you're really digging into what do I want, you're going into the subconscious. We know we need to go through there. That's how we retrieve our memory. But when you keep piercing the want, what do I really want? What it is that I really want, and you keep asking yourself, what do I want? What do I want? What do you want? You're going through this file into your heart mind. And when you can get to your heart mind, the whole world's going to change.
So you guys are going to hear this. I'm going to talk about that real quick. So subconscious mind has other names as well. Your emotional mind, your desire, your ideas have to be, you have to have a burning desire. It's your conditioned mind, is your emotional mind, and is also universal mind, as well as your subconscious mind. I'll have Abraham continue.
Two types of knowledge, and we're going to go over them. We have general and specialized knowledge. What's general knowledge? General knowledge is regular knowledge that everyone knows from your surroundings, from your environment, right? So whenever, let's look at what we call common sense. It's only common for the common people you're around. So now everybody knows common sense is only common for the people that you're around. So I remember my father was always, his common sense was, what's wrong with you? And maybe say a couple of other words, but that's common sense. And it was common sense for him because where he was raised around, everything was very mechanical, and they would use their hands a lot, and they would think through the process, and they would figure out how to create a mechanism or fix a mechanism, and they were very industrial. And so that's the way he raised me. And so then whenever it came to being around somebody else, and they may not know the technicality of how to use a screwdriver or use certain functions, you may say it's common sense. Well, it's only common if you're around it. So again, if it was programmed in the subconscious mind, it'll be common to you, and you'll be able to use those ideas and intellectually move them into a direction. Now, when we look at general knowledge, we're looking at the general knowledge from the environment that we were hanging around. Mm-hmm. So if you're born in 1986 in a farm in Idaho, right, what would you know? According to that environment, according to the family members, you gathered their information, and now it's in your subconscious. And now when you want to think and proceed into an action or into a dream or to a vision, where do you go? Well, you do the same thing that I do, that everybody else does. The only difference is you're going into Ohio, 19 and all the knowledge that you have from your surroundings. Yeah. So if Taha were to think about, well, I remember watching his chair one day. He put the chair together. I looked at the chair and said, my God, the chair's going to fall apart. It lasted a long time. But he put the screws in there, but he did it in a certain way. Well, here, when it came to here, and he's using his knowledge of how to do it, he put it together, and it still worked, right? But it wasn't how somebody else may have done it if they're very technical and they're good at putting things together. So what we do is we go into here to create the things that we want to build on.
Yeah, it's very cool that he says that, because that's so true. You know, I was raised in an apartment, and we had a maintenance guy who even came and changed the light bulb. So it was a culture shock when I came here and I saw people that mowing their lawn and take care of their grass. I was like, why do I do that?
Why would we want to do that?
Yeah, and I didn't know how to.
And see, he's going to find every reason not to do it.
Yeah.
So here we go. What's creating our reality? What we know. Mm-hmm. He's going to find every reason why not to go do that. So by intellect, you're going to intelligently direct matter. You're going to intelligently direct a thought to where I can set up a chain of events so I don't have to touch that lawn. Mm-hmm. Have you done it?
Yeah. And
you don't want to get good at it.
No, eventually I give it to other people, and eventually
because my time's worth more. Yeah. So here we go through time, and we're going through experiences, but a lot of times we don't know why we do things in a certain way. Well, if we're already trained to think in a certain way, we're going to automatically do things in a certain way. And he's been working on his self and where he wants to go. Yeah. He knows his value and what his time is worth. If I were to catch him mowing the lawn, I know he's wasting his time.
Yeah.
He won't do that because his value is in building businesses and companies. building other people. So how do you use your time? So here we go to general knowledge, which is going to be from the environment. You gather whatever you can with what you have. This is where we're telling everybody the subconscious rules 98% of your behavior.
So why that we do what we know? Let's talk about that a little bit before you go ahead. Why? He just mentioned you do what you know how to do. Why is not usual for us to start doing things that we're not comfortable with? Correct?
Very good. Can you grab the mic? Well, it's no, people on the Zoom are not able to hear.
Because there's no cells of recognition.
Good.
Yeah, that's one reason. But there's a mechanism that you're also working with.
In the subconscious, there was no cells of recognition.
Yeah. The mechanism for you is we're product of learning, right? And part of our subconscious mind is here to really focus on what we know how to do, because what we know how to do is safe. We have the cells of recognition of it. We're comfortable with it. We saw our parents do it. We saw our people that we love and trusted it. We saw people talk about it. It's to us is logical, and there's no really threat. There's no danger for us. Because of that, we stay in those ideas, and we stay in that lifestyle, and they'll stay with that kind of thinking, because to subconscious mind is safe for you. You got to be safe, right? Why do you, when you cross the street, why do you look at left or right? Why? Who told you that you have to do that? Right? But let's go back to who the first person start looking, and why when we go to somewhere new, we start looking at the place carefully. How many room it has, where's the restroom? Why we do all that? I'm sorry? Caution? There you go. Right? Caution, why? Because that mechanism, that place is the first time they're going to want to see if it's safe for them. Right? Or when they're driving a street, that they have to watch out, make sure they're not losing their life, right? So they're going to look. So that mechanism that we're talking about, part of it is really saving your life and keep you in, according to its ideas and program, keep you in its safe.
A workable order.
Yeah.
The subconscious makes sure that the body's not going to get messed up. He's always looking out for you.
Yeah.
So it's a protective mechanism. And it said, look twice. So it has both parts, but sometimes we even stop ourselves from growing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a known routine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's very interesting, because when you talk about routine for subconscious mind, if you think about this, why people do the things that they know even it's hurting them, they know it's causing a result that they don't want, but they still do it. Because that is a habit and routine that subconscious, even though the result's not good, but it's pleasing for your subconscious. You see what I'm saying? And because of that, you're still thinking you're in a safe zone. You'd rather be here and not having a good life, but going outside. If it was your great parents, it was better for you to step out of the cave and get eaten by a tiger. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. But ultimately, think about this. We're talking about this super, which is you, not this, you, super advanced, super complicated, super intelligence, that all that is within you, and they all work just perfectly. The intellect is going to help you to work with all those, your physical, your spiritual, intellectual, and physical part, to be able to truly live your fullest potential. I heard this fullest potential, and I always thought, before I started learning this, I thought, what is the fullest potential? Meaning that you get a degree, or you make more money, or what does that mean? truly, as you start more understanding yourself, you know that there is no fullest potential, because your potential is unlimited and nobody can tell you what your potential is. Nobody can even measure it. What does that tell you? You need to work on yourself rest of your life daily. Go ahead, Abraham.
And that's all we have. You know, one shot, what are you going to do with it? This is where you get into specialized knowledge. And this is where you direct it to definite ends. We're talking about that want, and that want, how no matter what, that want will direct you. If you keep digging into what I want, what I really want, you'll find the purpose to define your future. When you really dig into the want, and you still keep always thinking about what you want, always thinking about your want, eventually you're gonna be guided by this unseen force. And you had this unseen force, and we talk about it at 3 years old. You saw a picture, and this picture stimulated a want. So that want carried over into the future, and it caused you to come to the United States, right? Mm-hmm. So here, this want was bigger than all conditions and circumstances. It was bigger than the environment. It was bigger than the ID. It was bigger than everything that everybody was saying around you. That want, when you find a want that really moves you, it doesn't matter what's in the way.
Yeah.
You're going to find every reason how to use specialized knowledge and not their knowledge. You didn't use theirs, did you? Use part of it, but then you went to go specifically format a reason and a how to line you up to the future that you desired.
Yeah, very interesting, because when we're talking about that want is also building your characteristic or personality that you need to be able to obtain that want.
How does that
very
work?
Interesting.
How does that work?
Because it's going to have you imagine.
There we go. Activate what? Something outside of the network.
Yeah.
What's in here can only take you where you've been and their past. Mm-hmm. The want will activate your mind to go into the future, reoriginate, reconstruct, specialize in a directive to move this body to be prepared for a new outcome.
Correct. Think about this. When he says that, that's so tedious, because basically, just hear me out and then this will come to you. Basically, you're starting by changing, you're starting setting up the future. So start setting up chain of event and future. It's amazing if you think about this, go back and look at how you got here. And just think about the people you met, the things happened, you were right there to see that person. Every time, everything,
yeah. The phone call.
Everything you did, if one of those moves wouldn't happen, you wouldn't be where you're at.
But he was here.
It's amazing.
He was living here. He was living there. It didn't matter what the life, what was going to come. And I play around, but there was already something not programmed that came before that was causing him to imagine beyond to bring him to this stage, very exact place where he's at today. When I shook his hand that day, I already knew. He didn't know. I called him up. I said, things have shifted. I already knew. There's a hidden soul desire that is in all man before he arrives. So why would you go somewhere else to figure out what your life should be like other than to look inside? When you continue to go inside.
Or why should you ask someone else
for your future,
to whether you can do it or not? One of the things that I see often happening is when we want to, everyone needs to hear this. Everyone needs to hear that they can't do it, or usually people don't believe in themselves much. It's our responsibility to tell them that, inspire them and help them, and they tell them that they can. But I see this all the time happening, that it's just a habit of when we want to do something, we go and ask individual that we trust, that we think like we highly admire, whether they have experience in that field, or whether we really see if they are the person with open mind to help us, we ask them to, hey, what do you think? And basically their thinking, which is not theirs either, it's going to affect where you go in life and what you experience in life. And you really, when you start really thinking that you understand that everything that you have, the results that you have, everything that you created, it was from someone else, all those 1,000 people that in your head and all those ideas that you picked up. And those results that you get, whether they're good or bad, whatever they are, you can consciously choose and change them because they are directly influencing the chain of events,
The future.
that you're going to see in the future.
It's either somebody else's desire, it'll be your own. One or the other.
Yeah.
And when you go to the want, you're going to what it is that you truly desire. When you truly go to wants come from the soul. And this is where you seek the specialized knowledge to take you where you want to go. Sometimes hidden in many different ways. What is specialized knowledge? Specialized knowledge is knowledge based on certain jobs, professions, expressions. You're going to look for the exact knowledge you need to specifically take you in the direction of what you want to experience, what you want to do. Mm-hmm. And clearly understand that life has fulfilled its purpose. It gave you what? Life. It gave you primal substance, and primal substance is the soul. The soul has given you life, which is living, to live. The intelligence is what you use. Life is living intelligence, right? Mm-hmm. What is it doing? Fulfilling experiences. Fulfillment and experience are results. The intelligence is what's giving birth to everything you see around you. Life is living. It is the vivification of consciousness, of an etheric energy that's alive in you. It's the life-giving force. We use the intelligence. What are we using? We're going to use base knowledge. We're going to use their ideas. We're going to use that. When we did the only thing we could. Child comes in. What does he do? He begins to what? Think as they do. He's around them. Begins to think, act, walk, and talk as they do. So he takes that base knowledge, and that's where he goes off and he views the world, and he begins to what? Assimilate his own what? Decision-making process. He looks at what they're doing, and then he goes back to the computer, and he adjusts, and he moves, and he walks forward, and then he uses imagination according to those ideas. Now, we're going to specialize on something whenever it's something that we really want. We look for specifics whenever it's something that we desire to perform. The question is, what is it that you really want to experience? No matter how much knowledge one may have, if never guided on purpose, it will never become anything more than that. Why? No matter how much knowledge one may have, if never guided on purpose, it will never become anything more than that. When you do things on purpose, you think to definite ends. That means you're originating an outcome. If you're not originating an outcome, you're just doing things. But when you decide to specialize on it, to define it, to illustrate it, to express it, you're going to fulfill an experience. Clearly understand the intelligence that you're using will either change by a conscious election of your own. That means you're going to consciously decide to upgrade your intelligence, to change the way you think, to specialize in an area, to experience things on purpose because that's what you really want and desire, to fulfill the experience. Or you give your right away and let the intelligence, the previous program, the previous ideas, go ahead and write out the rest of your life. Which one's it going to be? Tell me it's not true. What is the effects every 24 hours? What does Monday look like? What does every Monday look like? What does every Tuesday look like? What does every Wednesday look like? What does every Thursday look like? What does every Friday look like? What have you become. What do you see around you? Is life written on your rules, or have you become subjective to somebody else's rules because you haven't decided your own power? Because you haven't made the decision, and you don't, for some odd reason, you may not feel worthy, and you become subjective to somebody else's ideas. No matter how much knowledge one may have, if never guided on purpose, it will never become anything more than that. You've got to decide how you're going to define how you want to live. And you do that by making choices. But once again, how much of our minds do we actually utilize? You're normally going to go back to the knowledge because that's what you know how to do. How many here have gone and done something completely new and retrained their mind? How hard was it to do? Was it to accomplish? How many years did it take? Can you grab that?
7 years.
What was the specialized knowledge?
Well, I guess just 3 years for law school.
But it's specialized because it directs a what? It's on purpose to an outcome. When we think on purpose and it's specialized, there is an outcome. There is a future vision in sight. This what creates a future. Visions create reality. A no vision is a non-entity if you don't enter into the spirit of it, right? You entered in the spirit of a vision on purpose. That means you had to specialize in an area. You had to figure out the expression that you were going to go and experience. And walk us through it just a little bit.
Well, nobody in my family was a lawyer, so I didn't have anything. I didn't have anything to go off of at all. So the world of contracts and business and the things that I learned about there, it was completely new. So that's what I thought of when you said if you became a whole different person. And then obviously my persona completely changed from who I was in college, just kind of a party girl, irresponsible, to a persona of a professional person.
How did you learn that persona?
Just created it.
Yep, but you had to study.
And working.
Other
I worked in a law office when I was in law school.
So what were you doing as you were working?
Observing the attorneys there.
There you go. So we learned by what? The senses. Mm-hmm. The imagination took you to go understand that. But then you learned by what? Observation. The average individual learns by observation. When we were 0 to 7, what did we do? Learn by observation. How did you learn what you do today? By observation and beliefs.
Through experiences we learn.
Yeah. When you observe and you go try something out here and it doesn't work, and let's say it didn't work, you learn by an observation, and did you go back to what you thought? Did you become trapped? Did you fall in? Or did you strategically keep working at the vision? You created a new mindset, and you have a new experience. You took on the memory. You learned how to express it, and now you've learned how to perform it. And you didn't get the understanding until you went and acted out what you have been memorizing, right? You didn't understand what you were becoming until you actually put on the suit, you stepped into the court, you stepped into the persona, and then you started to express the idea, right? That was lesson 1. You had gotten all the book knowledge, all the information, but you didn't get the first lesson until you started to express the idea in actions. That's when you were getting the feedback. That was day 1. Now we're understanding how the imagination works, intelligence works, how we work. We use 100% of our minds, but a small percentage is actually directed to a definite end. That's because 98% of the mind that's being used, a majority of it, 98%, is going to be subconscious programming. subliminal programming. 1 to 5%. Go look at your day. How much of it was created with your imagination? Ask yourself right now, out of your day, how much was creative imagination? You imagined it before you're doing it, and you're doing it on purpose, and this is how you really want to fulfill life. How much of the intelligence are you using on purpose to fulfill life? Taha and I took on mastering the mind on purpose. We create a vision. We look at the vision. Then we've got to create a strategy working backwards. Then we've got to get into the spirit of the idea. And then we've got to act it out to a definite end. We are learning how the mind works in action. How much do we have to, by law, go against everything we are programmed to do? So by doing that, we're increasing how much the mind is actually being operated. And by forcing yourself to focus on something you've never done before and focus on your mind for long periods of time, you're changing the what? Human personality, the character. And that by law changes